Hey guys, and welcome back to another week of Untier Talk. It's the podcast where we talk about everyone's favorite Untier. Obviously, my name is Megzard, and I'm joined by Hajad.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, I'm never gonna get the intro game down, but it's okay because I don't care. So there's not a ton has happened. There's been like some seasonal and ladder tour start, and we had a VR update. News-wise, pretty light though. You know. Actually, I'm honestly a lot more interested in that whole fake leak. I don't know if you saw it in the Sword and Shield channel, but like there was a fake Sword and Shield leak, and the dude made a video on like how he did it and everything. I thought that was much more interesting than anything that's happened in PU.
Wait, so you're saying some guy made a fake leak, and then, like, I guess, bailed
Some
himself
guy
out?
made a
Not bailed
fake.
himself out.
Some guy made a fake leak. It got covered by all the PokeTubers, and then like this is like a couple weeks later. He's like, okay, here's a video on how I did it and what I did to like design a new thing, and it's definitely worth a watch. It was quite interesting. It wasn't like malicious or anything. Like, haha, I got you guys. It's just like, I'm gonna do a fake leak. Oh shit, this blew up. Well, I'll turn it into a little informational. Here's how I designed like a 3D model of what I think a fake Pokemon would look like.
Yeah.
It's based off a
That's a-
Scotch egg.
Scotch egg.
Yeah.
That's very British.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's the UK region. I would definitely watch it. It was
Yeah.
real interesting.
Somebody posted that. Is it the Elekid?
Yeah,
The
that was
Elekid thing.
that
When
was
they
an
changed the plug.
yeah, that
that
was an
was,
old thing.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That was quite funny.
I like seeing all the, like the low effort Alolan form changes as memes. Those are always really funny. Like, let me see if I can find.
Yeah, Carlspawn would be constantly raining in the region.
Hang on, I think. Yeah, like if you just Google Alolan form meme, you get a lot of stupid things, but then you do get some of the ones I'm thinking of where it's just like really low effort haha changes. Actually, no, they're mostly just really bad memes. Don't bother. But still, point stands. What were we? Oh yeah, exhibition stats. So like the one thing we're gonna kind of put a little more time. Oh wait, we updated the VR too. God damn it. Do you actually want to say anything on any of the VR changes? I feel like this week's just so aggressively like, yep, that should have happened. Like really basic that
Yeah, I mean, what it felt like when we were voting on them, most of them, as you said, were pretty slam dunk. Like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. But I think for a couple of them, there were. I was quite like hesitant myself. Wait, where is the fucking update? Oh wait, was it the one on Thursday?
Yeah, here I can link it for you if you want.
Yeah, I think I found it. It's the one on Thursday, right?
I don't remember
So
when
you
I
say
don't remember
October
when I
is-
did it. I literally just went to the last page of the thread and scrolled down. Let's see. I posted on
okay,
February
Yeah,
February 24th. No, that's not right. That's the wrong. That's much higher up on that page. I
Yeah.
posted it on Thursday.
all right. So basically, when I'm looking through, like, well, I agree with basically all of the rises. Like, Simi-Series, I think has turned like because there was like a brief stint in the meta where nobody ran fire resists at all because we banned all of them essentially. So Simi-Series sort of came in and started making that role, I guess, on its own. And I personally like it for the Gluttony Agua Berry set or whatever that the Gluttony Pinch Berry set.
Mhm.
I feel like that one's really fun because you can just sort of tank priority hits, and it's kind of fun that way. Like Kanga comes in, fakes you out for like 40, and you get the Agua Berry back up. So
See, when you
it's
just said
kinda
it takes 40 from a Kangaskhan fake out, that's like my whole thing of why I'm not a huge fan. Like right there. So
I think the Z move Simi-Sys sets are much worse, honestly, than the Pinchberry sets, just because of that. You come in, I'll take rocks, 75%. You want to try and sub maybe Nasty Plot. You don't really know what to do. Click 5 last, click Grass Knot, and then the Revenge Killer comes in, and then it's game over. Like Simi-Sys does nothing. So I think it does much better in a support role with like sub Nasty Plot and the Pinchberry. as like a supporting breaker for like a faster breaker in the late game, like a nasty plot Persian Alola, and that's what you slap your Z move on. But yeah, I think Simisear has now cemented itself as like, okay, if you don't run a fire resist, you will be punished by this mon in particular. Whereas like in old metas, it was like, I could just use my fighting resist to take on a Combuskin. You know what I mean? So it's like, whatever. But yeah, apart from that, Victory Bell I come to like just because it's a decent girder counter, and also it can switch in hard on Regirock, which is quite cool. Claydol, I like it because it has a lot of roll compression. And I don't know why Servine rose particularly, but I'm a fan of it.
I mean, it's a fine mon that just didn't need to be that low. No one's used it recently. Yeah. Like Servine hasn't seen any special light, but like it just should not have been down that low. Servine's pretty solid. I think it's still lower than it would be if people used it more, but people don't, and it's pretty reasonable for a mon that like you just don't really fit on too many teams to be right there. But Servine's always been like pretty fucking nice.
Yeah, I've always liked Servine for the good old mirror coat shenanigans that you could do with like Max Spadef. Like you could tank a Pyro Fire Blast. That was quite fun back in the day. But yeah, apart from that, I feel like it's actually quite a decent defogger because you can also gain a lot of offensive momentum with Leaf Storm power. Mm-hmm. That, and also you can like pressure.
I mean, here's like I agree with pretty much everything you said, just because it's all very non-controversial. Like I don't even know that we need to recap everything that happened because like, yep, Servine should go up. Yep, Claydol's fine. Like unless you want to throw something out that's like, hey, people wouldn't know that. I just think we should move on past this because
let's do that. I do want to say something a bit more controversial and say that Blossom should be like C-. Like I think Blossom sucks, and I also think Haunter should probably be lower as well, just because
it also sucks. Okay, so Haunter should be lower. It doesn't actually suck. Like in practice, it's pretty all right. It's just you can't really put it on things. And this is a mon like I've tried to make it drop many, many times for many, many months. Maybe almost a year at this point. I've just been consistently putting Haunter down, and it hasn't gone down. Council's never really discussed it much. I don't know why it worked this time, but like, thank God it's lower, because Jesus. Blossom, on the other hand, though, a lot of people like to completely shit on this mon and say it's worthless, and I mean, I think it's just because they build teams in a way where Blossoms just like happen to never be all that annoying. Like you use a lot of very specific mons that a lot of other people won't use that much of, that like Blossom's not really much of an issue, but most people aren't building with like way too much Drampa on all their teams. Blossom can and does just get like really solid situations where it can perform in nice matchups. I think the worst thing about it is that when it faces a bad matchup, it's really quite just like problematically not used. But every time someone is like Blossom's just complete shit should be like B C- to unranked. Like you've said it, Katut said it. I think even one other council member said it. And I just can't even come close to agreeing because Blossom will like do things when it's not put in like abjectly terrible situations.
Hashtag rip Katut.
Oh yeah, that happened, but I don't even want to talk about that. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's whatever. And yeah, just sort of quickly onto Blossom. I feel like my main problem with it is that it's sort of passive until it gets going, like for a few turns, like until it gets a couple of Quiver Dances under its belt. It's hard to kill in that regard, but the problem is that you don't, like, I don't ever kill Blossom. I just sort of toxic it and then wait, because it can't really, like, when you put Blossom under toxic pressure, it's so bad. It is.
Do people not like the Safeguard set? I always thought Safeguard is
Safeguard set.
Perfectly fine.
Safeguard set. Yeah, I haven't seen a Safeguard set in forever. I've seen more Moonblast. Moonblast is the filler.
Yeah, I don't know about Moonblast. There's too many things where it's like Moonblast is in theory for this, but in practice it's not. Like Moonblast is what better for like Drampa. Drampa is probably not good. Like Moonblast is often not going to change how you handle Drampa. And there's honestly not like a lot more things that Moonblast, like it's a better move versus some other grass types, like I don't know, Bomb Snow or whatever, but it really doesn't change how your Blossom works. I think Safeguard has definitely been the better option just because like when you use Blossom, it shouldn't be losing because they can just go Clefairy and click Toxic because or like Altaria. Okay, Moonblast beats Altaria, but who uses Altaria? The point is that like Blossom is designed as a mon that's supposed to beat those kind of things, and if you're not running Safeguard, it doesn't. So I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
Um, I think just generally, it's just a bit passive before it gets going. I think that's the thing that holds it back from, in my opinion,
It
being
is.
like a B plus Pokemon.
It is, and it's
The,
not a
the
B plus mon for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why I'm not convinced that it should be in the B ranks at all. To be honest, just because it's like it your damage output for a long time just isn't good enough. Like it's like it just sits there, quiver dances, but at the end of the day, you're not going to win a game by just clicking quiver dance. Like you win games by like killing things, right? So it's like it's hard to kill though. I'll give it that. And plus the Gracium Z set with Strength set makes it ridiculously hard to kill. So yeah, it's probably like we're getting closer basically to where it should be, rather than like B rank. I think B rank is overselling it. Yeah,
I don't know.
otherwise, though,
Honestly, I think the line between B minus and C plus is kind of weird because that's just where you're starting to get to mons that don't see quite enough usage. Like on it, I could see good arguments for about half a C plus going up and half a B minus moving down. So in that sense, it's weird to say, but I think Blossom really fits pretty fine with where it is. Like I think in C plus, Carbing's actually pretty good. Jumpluff's actually pretty good. Malwa is actually pretty good. Arguably some of the other stuff in C plus too. Whereas in B minus, Leafeon kind of dick. Ursaring getting too niche. Zangoose, I don't know. Like, do you really ever want to use Zangoose? Like, it's fine. People think it's absolute garbage. It's fine. It's just, it's even harder to ever say you want to use it on a team. So I could just see like enough things switching around to where like, is Jumpluff really out of place or Bill Awesome really out of place? I don't know.
yeah, honestly, the thing with Stout and not Stout, sorry, Ursaring and Zangoose, I wouldn't be opposed to those two going down a bit because, quite frankly, there's never been a team where I've thought, wow, this team would be so much better if I had an Ursaring over Stoutland. You know what I mean? I feel like Stoutland really is sort of dominated that role along with Kangaskhan as just sort of like the normal type offensive attackers. Because if you use a Zangoose, you're just killing yourself after two kills at tops. Right, and if you
I mean, everyone knows why Stoutland and stuff is better, but I think this provides a very good segue in that exhibition usage stats were come up with, and there are some interesting things to look at there. Stoutland and Kangaskhan, Stoutland got used 14 times and had a win rate of about 36%. That's not very good.
Sorry, what was that?
Stoutland got used 14 times with a win rate of 36% about. Kangaskhan getting used 13 times and a bit better of a win rate, but still about 46%. Getting close to the 50%. I don't think Kangaskhan's win rate's that terrible, but Stoutland definitely stands out as there are a few mons that stand out as like this win rate really not that good. Stoutland is one of like the only noticeable trends I can really take away from the stats, but it's a big one that like it kind of dominates that role, but for whatever reason, Stoutland teams did not show up at exhibition.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it appropriately guises its spot in the meta, where it's a top tier breaker undoubtedly, but it's honestly, like, I don't think you can depend. It's not like you can depend on Stoutland to break certain types of fat styles of teams, because versus most fat teams, you're going to have a Regirock or a Tangela. Like, these are like proper fat styles of teams. So there's going to be a point where you're like, okay, my Stoutland team, I'm going to have to now add an additional wall breaker, like a Nasty Plus Semi-Seer or whatever.
Well, I think it doesn't break.
Yeah.
It doesn't break stall. It breaks balance. That's what it does.
Yeah.
And
it breaks specifically.
But that I don't know that has anything to do with like the low usage rate, unless I went back and I saw like everyone misunderstood what Stoutland does. But I mean, like that's kind of its role. I think the bigger takeaway is more that Stoutland has still the same pressure in team building, where I know a lot of people are like, dude, Megazard, I hate Stoutland PU. I'm like, yeah, it is an annoying mon to handle. But it is kind of to the point where people are thinking about it enough that it like stops functioning as well. And there are some mons that like you just need to over prep for, and then they're still great, super dominating. I don't think Stoutland's at that point because A, it's not like over prepping for it, and B, it's not like still managing to be godlike even with that over prep, and it's still a totally fine mon to use. But I think once people like really think about Stoutland, it does just become worse because of that to like a more notable degree than would be ideal. That's just kind of where I see it.
Yeah. Also, if you look at like the top usage Pokemon, they all either check Stoutland or outspeed and do damage to it, or like switch in. Like if you look at like Mesprit switching,
things that
like
lose to
Mesprit
lose to Stoutland outright are just like becoming less common. It got better when there was more like Clefairy and whatever. But right now, like if you look above Stoutland, most of the mons that lose to Stoutland are mons that can pivot, like Lantern and Electros and whatever. It really takes you to get down. Yeah, it really takes you to get down to like, I guess Drampa for a mon that gets like is slower in check by Stoutland, because when you look at exhibition usage stats, very offensive season, very little fat and stall and stuff. Even the balance ended up being more on the offensive side, and a lot of like the really fat mons did not show up so well, even though I don't think they're bad. But like Regirock, 35% win rate, Quagsire, 27% win rate.
I was more surprised about the Quagsire one, to be honest.
Yeah, that's really low. Hang on, I'm not even done though. Metang, 30% win rate off a solid 10 uses for Metang. Even Mudsdale, 40% win rate. And there was one more I wanted to... Oh yeah, Articuno, only with like a 43% win rate, which I think Articuno crazy. Clefairy also only 7 usage, so a good deal, like Clefairy and Articuno, a good deal less than those other mons, down to like 7 uses, but Clefairy only with 1 win out of 7. That's like fat did not show up at all.
Yeah, I think if you look at the whole sort of like chart in like unison, you'll see like more people are now leaning towards balance with spikes as their way of pressuring fat teams, rather than using your like standard breakers. So like stuff like Stoutland or what have you. More traditional breakers have sort of been like swept aside, and then what people are now trying to do, instead of like breaking with those things, they have loads of spikes pressure, loads of stealth rock pressure, and then like 2 or 3 sweepers, so that your Lilligants will obviously show up. Oricorio, I guess you can put as like a Calm Mind breaker. So yeah, like Kanga, I guess, got a lot of usage. Mesprit is always like in the debate for a Calm Mind, breaker.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about those same team styles, and I think Mesprit also just like rocks. Mesprit goes very well in those styles. Mesprit also seeing literal like 50% usage on used 59 times, and with actually like a good win rate of 60%, which is not what you normally expect. Normally, when you see a mon that dominating, it just can't have that great of a win rate because so many of its wins are against itself. So for Mesprit to still pull out a 60% win rate is really because, like, even though it was our most dominating mon by far, it used over 20 times more than the next used mon. It still was only used on like 50% of teams, which comparatively to other like crazy over centralizing things, like your Primal Groudon or whatever, not that crazy. Pretty big
Yeah,
for
oh,
PU.
definitely.
Like, obviously super notable, not that insane. I was also pretty surprised the next most used mon being Primeape of all things, like, really shows to where that offense balance trend is kind of coming, because Primeape specifically is like, oh, I need like that Scarfer to check Lilligant because I'm running on off an offensive team, and like it really like 30% usage for Primeape is just not something I would have expected. And then the other thing is talking about spikes. Frostlass with a full 30 uses, 25% usage. I mean, that's where spikes are. That's before you get to Quillfish and Roselia, and it's still on literally a quarter of teams. That's, it's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
I think yeah, because especially in tours, you can put much more emphasis on using spikes as your braking mechanism rather than like on ladder where it might be a bit inconsistent depending on like because ladder you'll like get this ridiculous hyper offense team where you can definitely not get spikes at versus. But the nice thing about Frostlass is that any type of passivity like you can abuse that for spikes or even like using it as like a check. So like if you bring it in on a pom pom, likelihood is that you can force it out. And get a free spike up or something. And also the added utility of being a spin blocker, I think, really helps people fit it on teams because then they don't have to worry about or spikes viability in general because then they don't have to worry about okay, I might need to run a Sableye or
Yeah,
a Mischievous
because
or a Lamp here or something.
our spin blockers kind of dick.
Yeah, that's
Sableye
the
is
thing that
like the best one outside of Frostlass, obviously. Sableye is like the best one at spin blocking, and it just won't like it just doesn't fit on some team styles. Like you just can't do it. Golurk's not much of a blocker, then you start getting like your Haunter and Mischievous and whatever. Other trends we talked about, like you saw Regirock and Quagsire and those fat things really not showing up and having the low win rates. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I want to highlight a couple. I want to highlight a couple of things because I think in general people have sort of been sleeping on these things, but Electros.
Are you cutting me off to do exactly what I was about to do? What was
yeah?
That? What was that? You just You're just like, no, Megazord, shut up. I gotta say what you're about to say.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I wanted to say that. Basically, what we were explaining is that that offensive style that's been sort of encapsulating the meta with spikes and a lot of Volturn, to be honest, has sort of like you can sort of see that trend in the usage stats because if you look at it, like Electros has a ridiculously high win rate. Quillfish in general, because it's a fantastic like meta check, even though it doesn't last around for a long time. That also has a fantastic win rate, and Golurk as well, which doesn't fit on a lot of balance teams. But it does fit on offense, and it does the job extremely well as an offense tool, as stealth rocking and
Yeah,
and what's it called?
Stealth rocking, spin blocking, just general offensive things.
Also, a decent rock resist as well.
So yeah, all I was gonna do is just highlight some like the exceptionally high win rates. Electros being one of them with a 72% win rate. Same with Quillfish with a 72% win rate. And like a decent amount of usage. Electros getting used 15% of the time, Quillfish getting used 10% of the time. Another one, a Lowland Persian with an 80% win rate. It's just like really, really goddamn solid in this meta because no matter like it's inconsistent in the same way something like Lycanroc is, where you use a Lowland Persian, it's like, oh, they have a Hitmonchan, and I can pressure it with my other stuff, but it's definitely going to make a Lowland Persian kind of hard to sweep with. But unlike all those other things, a Lowland Persian also just gets to parting shot with momentum and stuff, and it should be pretty obvious why this mon's just like dope. Golurk, 87% win rate. This is down to Monzer getting used like only 8 to 5 times, so take these win rates with a grain of salt. But Golurk getting 87%, Omastar with a 75% win rate, still showing up, man. I mean, yeah. Only getting used one more time than Caracosta. Omastar 8 times, Caracosta 7 times. So Caracosta has kind of come up as like just as good of a smasher. With an 85% win rate, which I think is just really cool that we can have these two like same typed smashers that function so differently but end up being about as good. I think that's neat. Um, and obviously, like this, the same rank on the VR now and everything.
Yep.
That's pretty much. Oh, Sensu, Oricorio Sensu actually having a 71% win rate. A little bit high, but like only 7 uses is really not that exceptional. But that's kind of what I'd expect from Sensu. A couple of
Trade
things.
all with that source 100% win rate and Swoobat as well. We
Hell
love
yeah.
Swoobat.
Yeah, obviously when you get to like super unused things, then you're gonna start having crazy win, like Gastrodon 100% win rate because it only got used twice, which I think is kind of criminal for Gastrodon, but whatever. Shiftry 100% win rate, Shiinotic 100% win rate, Cradilly 100% win rate, Frogadier 100% win rate, things like that.
Wait,
Um,
that whole team, that was the whole team that we built with Credilli and Kamala. That only got used
yeah,
once
that
the only
only got
time
used
that
once.
they won.
Last thing I guess we can throw out is I think there are a few mons that just like got weirdly not used very much at all, which should be like considered notable for this thing just isn't all that popular. Although I know the meta has changed a lot. Like Exhibition started with fucking Minior, but still, Altaria only got used twice. I legit think this mon's pretty solid, but no one else does. That's kind of understandable. Gastrodon though, little more surprising. Gastrodon only got used 2 times compared to Quagsire's 15. Um,
Yeah, a
people,
lot of people have tried to convince me that Quagsire is a better mon than Gastrodon, and I kind of just disagree with that in general. But I
I don't
feel
know
like
that
that's wrong.
Gastrodon's straight up better, but I think it should be a lot more equal than that. Like this is a pretty sharp difference, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I just also wanted to point out that at 4 uses, was it 4 uses? Yeah, there it is. Rotom Frost has 4 uses, and I think that's
Criminal.
really low. Yeah, basically at
Yeah,
that point.
that's
Like,
disgusting. Rotom Frost was another mon I wanted to just highlight because like it's really goddamn solid as like offensive, like really actually surprisingly reliable at getting to remove hazards is the big thing.
yeah, 100%. As a hazards remover, like you can see, the most popular hazards remover is Mesprit. Mesprit doesn't immediately threaten Rotom.
Rock
Um,
setter, not
yeah,
hazard
as a rock
remover.
setter, yeah. And Sandslash and Lola, sometimes they aren't capable of hitting Rotom at all, given that they run Ice Crash EQ on their rock sets.
At best, it's gonna be
Um,
toxic.
yeah, at best it's toxicking you. So, and Thunderbolt's going to be doing a dunk on that as well. And if you get a Volt Switch on it, shit, that's a lot of momentum. But, yeah,
Yeah.
and Regirock doesn't have that great Spadef. Like, just in general, it's you have good matchup for
Well, I've been
Frostlass,
using Rotom
Evolution.
Frost to like. I want I want Regirock in on my Rotom Frost. I'll just Will-O-Wisp them, defog, and then I'm fine with that.
Blizzard also.
Then you
Yeah,
can just
that's
Blizzard.
a good trade.
You can keep rocks off, and even if the Regirock ends up like beating you, especially if you miss Blizzard, you're still gonna probably be chipping it for like a good 60 to 80% and stopping you from getting rocks. Like I really like Rotom Frost. Other things pretty low. Poliwrath with only 4 uses. I know it's a bit more of a niche mon, so not like as crazy surprising. But keep in mind there were like, well, let's see. If Mesprit was on 50% of teams and got used 59 times, that's going to be like over 100 teams used. So Poliwrath on 4 of them.
115, yeah.
A little surprising. Roselia and Sableye, also only 4 uses. And also Jellicent and Aurorus. Like this like all the Pokemon that got 4 uses are mons that I expect to get like 40. Okay, not 40, but like 10 at least. Poliwrath, Roselia, Sableye, Jellicent, Aurorus, Rotom Frost. That is a really strong lineup for things that like barely got used.
Yeah.
Some of the other, like there's a lot of other mons that didn't get used as much, but I'm skipping over the ones like you don't actually expect to see Ludicolo or Lurantis or Alolan Dugtrio that much, but you do expect to see those mons more. Kabutops, only 7 uses. That used to be our go-to Scarfer, but now that Lilligant's like more up there, Primate clearly overtook Kabutops really hard. Aggron, only 7 uses. Really just not a popular breaker anymore. Alolan Raichu, only 7 uses. Alolan Persian's just really taking over that niche.
Yep. 100%. Plus the whole not getting pursuit trap thing is, I'm sure that weighs in a lot
Yeah,
of people's minds.
but I think Alolan Raichu could get more usage. Also, Sash counter is legit. Don't at me. Um, that's all I got for that. I think just like that 4 usage slot. Damn, dude. Aurorus and
Yeah,
Jellicent with 8 uses between them. It's kind of
yeah. I mean, that sort of signifies to me that people they weren't trying to use hail a lot as well, because Aurorus is usually the thing that starts the hail. So
yeah. And
it looks
Abomasnow was
like a lot of
also
people were trying.
well down there. It's not like we saw more Abomasnow because that was
Yeah, we did see it. No,
that
we did
was
see more
only
Aurorus though.
6 uses. Abomasnow
Yeah,
getting used more than
Aurorus.
Aurorus. I think Aurorus and Jellicent, like people are like, oh, we should actually drop them because no one uses them. They're just harder to use, but I think once you do use them, they're still legit good Pokemon that should be well up there. It's just that, like, I don't know. What these usage stats kind of scream to me is that people were extremely safe. Now, I don't expect something like as weird and out there as Alolan Raichu to get, the same usage as Alolan Sandslash, but it only got 70, or like, but, Aurora's only got 4 uses. And Primeape's up there with like 35 uses. It's just like this is just the boring safe stuff really came out in force, which isn't always a bad thing. It's always good for a meta to like develop more consistency and all that. But it's definitely a little surprising, especially when our top 2 players were Katut and Ziri, who tend to be more of like the surprising people who bring out like the weirder stuff. I guess they just didn't have that much influence on these stats.
Yeah, I think in general it might speak. Also, what I read into it is that maybe people aren't that comfortable building. Um, that might be for a few reasons, but there were a
Oh,
couple of weeks where
I can relate.
yeah, like we had for a couple of weeks we had Minior in week 1, so that screwed up building for the first week, and then we had Exeggutor for a little bit as well. That screwed up building for a little bit. And then after that, we just had the whole litigant thing. People were sort of scared of that thing. So yeah, people just sort of, I think they just like to sit on that same defensive, offensive style of that same balanced style of idea, like Sandslash, Alola, Primate, Mesprit, Lilligant, Frostlass. Those mons basically defined Exhibition, I think, this time around.
Oh, for sure. And it'll be really interesting to see, if we lose Alolan Sandslash and gain like Guzzlord or something, that's already going to be like, this meta will look nothing like Exhibition meta, because that right there is already, well, Mesprit's going to get weirder. If we get Cryogonal, then what does that mean for Frostlass? Things like that. So I can see a huge shakeup coming to this meta. I'm not bored of this meta at all. I don't think it's a problem that we've had like, this very samey looking usage stats, but I know some people have been like, I want to see some difference. I don't get that at all. Like, Jesus, we just had the whole Houndoom test. But anyway, change looks like it'll probably be coming if you see this as a bad thing. And with that, I think we can toss it to our last segment, Hijad's Gimmick
Wait,
Corner.
this is the last segment. God damn it.
Oh, you weren't? You don't? I can do a thing. I can always do a thing if you don't have a thing. Because I know you've been busy all day. I know you've been busy all day without time to. No, well, if I'm going to do a thing, then you save your thing for next time.
No, I'm going to do a thing as well whilst you're doing a thing. Hold on. No, wait. No, we could just do the Specs Kanto Eggy. I like the post on the VR that's talked about Specs Kanto Eggy, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, you can talk
Especially
about that if you want.
Yeah, because there was a post on the VR. Let me just credit it really quick. I think it was M3PO.
Yes, it was M3BO. He also posted the drop
Yeah.
Beartic and Blossom that we kind of mentioned.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
But yeah, he wanted a lone Exeggutor ranked for specs, just max speed, max special attack. Your basic like yeah, Kanto Eggy. Your basic stabs and hidden power. I don't think this mon is all that. I think if you don't like Aurorus and you don't like Jellicent, then this mon is yeah. It hurts balance scores because its typing is non-standard. Balance scores are like prepared for Aurorus and Jellicent and things like that, which means that your pack you've got your Roselia and your own Jellicent, your Mudsdale and your Metang and whatever. And Alolan Eggy does, regular Eggy, Kanto Eggy does a good job at breaking those, specifically because it's anti-meta. But once you move past that, it's slow and it's pursuit trapped and it's not hard to check and it's weak to U-turn. It's weak to literally. It's like it's tied for having the most weaknesses in the game. I don't know.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Grass Psychic and Grass Ice are tied for the worst, which is Alolan Eggy, not a regular Eggy, Celebi, and Abomasnow / Snover. I should double check that.
That's crazy. Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, I think the reason why I like the idea of it is because a lot of the sweepers, or no, breakers, sorry, like Jellicent and what's the other thing that you named, Aurorus, they tend to have problems with longevity. So it's either longevity via Pursuit Trap or longevity via the Stealth Rock weakness. So Exeggutor doesn't have the Stealth Rock weakness, and it also has Giga Drain, like Max Stab, like Modest Giga Drain with the Choice Specs. That's going to give you a lot of healing. So it's much worse if the opposition just lets you freely fire stabs your way. So I do think that plus Hidden Power Ground does a lot of damage to Skuntank. Like I thought a lot of people would just not bother. Like usually I think when people will see an Alolan Eggy, they won't try and sack something then bring a Skuntank in. I think the more common play will just be to go hard Skuntank, and after rocks you can just Hidden Power Ground it, which is quite neat. But yeah, I think the Giga Drain really makes it for me, to be honest, because I remember playing that thing in Oras NU, and it used to be extremely annoying because of a Giga Drain. Like, you couldn't let it Giga Drain, which is, I guess you can let other Pokemon, like, you can just let others just spam their stabs, but with Eggy, there's a specific reason why you might not want that to happen.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. I'm always very skeptical, but it's definitely not the worst thing in the world. Also, I lied. My info is outdated. The problem is I knew that statistic, but only before Fairy type was released. After Fairy type was released, Ice Grass and Psychic Grass were not the only types to have the most weaknesses.
Okay.
First of all, Psychic Rock was also tied like pre-Fairy, but the only Psychic Rock types were Solar Rock and Lunatone, which had Levitate, which means they did not have as many weaknesses because Levitate. But with the advent of Fairy, Grass Dark, Fighting Rock, and Rock Dark are all tied for having just as many weaknesses, which means you get to add on Nuzleaf and Shiftry, Cacturn, Terrakion, and then Tyranitar and Mega Tyranitar. The difference, though, is obviously Tyranitar, Mega Tyranitar, and Terrakion have like better actual resistances than fucking Exeggutor.
Yeah.
Cacturn's defensive typing, though, just as bad. So, yeah, it's no surprise that PU has Shiftry, Cacturn, Abomasnow, and Exeggutor as as those non-legendaries with the worst defensive typing. Celebi gets to be good because it's still got a broken move pool and 100 base stats across the board. But yep, that's your dumb fact of the day.
That's a nice segue, because in Exhibition I was trying to build a Cacturn set that could anti-lead Frostlass sets. So it's like a Spadef Cacturn with Duckini and Z Dark Pulse, so that you tank the Ice Beam from an offensive Frostlass and then return the KO with Dark Pulse. Or Z Dark Pulse, sorry. The only stumbling block, I guess you can call it, is that it sucked quite a lot, so I decided not to use it.
Yeah, the only issue was that it was terrible and didn't work.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Wow, who'd have thunk? All right, well, this has been a pretty solid episode. I think we had some good PU analysis and some weird fun facts. So with that, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you all for listening to another week of Untier Talk. You can find us on YouTube and on Smogon. And again, I'm doing the fake podcast outro. I don't know why I keep thinking it's funny. It's not. But that's okay, because that's basically like this podcast. I think it's a thing that I should keep doing, but really, we should just stop. This is your downer outro for you. All right, we'll see y'all next week. Yay!